Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard, and my original website is karmictools.com, but I am building kellymbeard.com, which is where the Soul Sisters Journey Circle will reside eventually. So I'm so excited for this new beginning, and I just can't wait to share it with you. But for now, let's get settled where we are. Take some deep breaths and unify the circle. Get present. Let go of the day. It's a Thursday. We're not quite to the weekend yet. And suspend kind of everything else for just an hour or so. We might be a little bit longer than that, but there will be a recording. So if you conk out or you have to go early, that's not a problem. But I do want to introduce myself and my work in a kind of new way and then dive into some details and some fun stuff that we've talked about in the invitation. So deep breaths wherever you are. Settle into your space. Make sure you have some water. Make sure you're comfortable. And I'm going to honor the four directions. And as I invite our benevolent angels and loving ancestors, personal animal guides, and helping spirits to be with us tonight, we each have a powerful, invisible team of support. And it's even more potent when we bring them together like this for a common purpose. That expands our circle exponentially. We are surrounded by light, love, and truth. And I just want you to take a deep breath in, getting present to where you are in your physicality, your mental, emotional, spiritual center at this moment, calling in some balance to receive, opening for the messages that are just for you. And I'm going to honor the direction of the east, which is also an initiation point where we access the inner wisdom of the mind and the heart chakra, as well as the element of air to illuminate the truth of here and now. So take a deep breath in as you make that connection to your heart chakra, to the direction of the east and the element of the air and your mental body. And let's soothe that with a deep cleansing breath in, getting present there. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And as you turn to the direction of the south, this is a culmination point where we access the inner wisdom of the spirit and the element of fire, and it's associated with the solar plexus. So we're moving down into the solar plexus, connecting to the element of fire to inspire the creativity of here and now. And connect you to that power center. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And turning to the west, which is a completion point, and where we access the inner wisdom of the soul and the element of water. This one's associated with our sacral chakra, the creative center. So make that connection there to the element of water, the direction of the west, and your creative chakra. Take a deep cleansing, opening breath in. Deep breath. And hold and release. And we come complete to the direction of the north, which is a conception point where we access the inner wisdom of the body and the element of earth to anchor us in the actual here and now. And this one, of course, is associated with the root chakra. So I want you to ground into that, feeling open and alert and settled. Make that connection to your body and to the element of earth in the direction of north. You take a deep cleansing breath in, getting present in your body. Deep breath. And hold and release. Thank you everyone for being here. I said a little earlier we might go over this because I am going to do an introduction and then we're going to get on with the monthly details I like to share with you. But I am so grateful and excited that you all are curious and interested in what I'm offering here because this is all new. It is not astrologically based. This has to do with my earth medicine practice and what I've been studying for the last couple of years with Pixie Lighthorse and others. So I do want to start with just an introduction about my mission and who I am and how I got here, and give you that foundation before we dive into the actual materials. So as an individual, my mission is to create sacred space and custom tools that support the individual journey. That's really important to me, the individual journey of healing, education, and transformational soul work is going to be the buzzwords of the day, because that is what I'm all about. This work we can only do for ourselves. We can only heal ourselves, we can only learn for ourselves, and we can only do our soul work ourselves. But it helps to have the right tools, support, and guidance, which is what I've sort of devoted my life to. And I'm very excited to track my own evolution in this, because I have been at it since 1999 with the general public, obviously long before that on my own. And as an earth medicine practitioner, my mission is an ongoing, dedicated, daily practice of honoring nature and cultivating and nurturing my relationships with the elements, the animals, plants, rocks, and minerals that facilitates healing and wholeness for myself and the planet. It's very important to me, and I have vowed, actually taken vows, to educate others who cross my path and be a living example that essentially ends the mythology behind our separation. We are not separate, and I've proven it to myself over and over, and I'm happy to share what I've learned and discovered with you so that you don't feel separate either. You are never, ever alone, and you are so deeply loved and surrounded by light that just acknowledging that fact as a possibility opens you up to more, and I love that. And the earth medicine practice, as you might imagine, is probably a little broader. It's where the monthly calls that I'm going to invite you to is to drop in and just check in with certain things throughout the year. And the idea is that if we tend to certain things a little bit at a time, once a month throughout the year, by the time the year is done, you look up and a lot of goodness has been integrated, and strength and fortification, and a lot of things are kind of already done and taken care of, so that bringing in any new energy is not hampered or hindered or blocked in any way. And it works when you work it, I promise you. And the Mystic Mentor I'd like to introduce you to is my one-on-one work, and what I've discovered over time and practice to describe what I actually do. The term life coach is a fine term. It's just not for me. When Mystic Mentor came to me, which was actually in a meditation and in an automatic writing session I was doing, it felt right. So part of the work that I do is that practical application and helping you to learn about yourself with the custom tools that I've created, the practices, and the different structures that I've put in place so that you all can learn for yourself. Everything that I offer you here now and always is essentially a guideline. It's not etched in stone. It's not what you're supposed to do verbatim, word for word, everything that I lay out here. What it's supposed to do is pique your interest and awaken something within you that is connected to your natural instincts, to your wild instincts, the ones that are totally wired in and that nobody can ever disconnect. And so the Mystic Mentor one-on-one work, what I do to help you all, and I use those custom tools and practices to honor your personal cycles and your natural rhythms so that you're more centered, happy, and effective. When navigating life, we often hit unforeseen complications, delays, detours, and denials. Sometimes you're in great shape and can handle them with ease and grace. But there are other times when you could benefit from additional assistance, guidance, and support. So my mission is to be a stellar guide and a solid support as you consciously navigate your own evolutionary process. I'm here to support and assist your process. What we co-create together will allow you to hone your instincts and rise into your fullest potential by establishing relationships with your own animal guides and inner archetypes, as well as your eternal connection to the ancestors, while also deepening your understanding of the current energetic support. You know, this is a powerful time to be in an awakening, to be coming into yourself, into your own, and that emergent self that I've talked about on a lot of my calls lately. So the Mystic Mentorship is usually good for those who are navigating pivotal times in life or attempting to create a more heart-centered, authentic life. Then I can assist you in your individual process. These tools and insights offer an additional filter to help you make better choices and decisions. I'm there to offer that clarity and additional perspective when you're moving through personal confusion or darkness or just transition in general. I love suggesting other options that you may not have considered and finding ways to help you claim resources you may not have been aware of or using properly. There's a lot of times we just have to redistribute our resources. We have them, we know we have them, but we're not using them to our benefit as best we could. So I love helping people figure all that out. So the circle was born out of that. I love my one-on-one work, and I'm doing more and more of that. But this new circle, while we're starting out virtual and we're starting out on the phone, we're going to end up in person and on video on Zoom. And as time progresses, we'll see how Zoom does. There is a paid platform called Rizuku that I would like to host my circles there because it's a container and it's private. And as you all may have figured out by now, I'm not big on social media. I don't do Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or any of that. YouTube's about all you're going to get out of me because I don't like a third party. You know, I don't mind paying for the hosting to hold our container of our videos and PDFs and the tools that we use each month, but I do need it to be private. And I want you always to feel safe and secure in my space and in this space of learning and healing because often they go together. As we learn to turn our wounds into wisdom, which is a lot of what I do here, is helping you do that, helping you use the energy and resources that are within you already. We need to just awaken them and get in some alignment. So I need the welcome on the audio, so if you'll bear with me, I do want to get this welcome for those who maybe haven't read their PDF or aren't able to join us live. But I'm so excited that you are curious about your inner archetypes, animal, and ancestral guides because that is part of your invisible team, and that's, again, kind of what I'm all about. I've been working with them my whole life because, you see, I am a tracker. I am one who tracks patterns and cycles, but I have also been tracking my relationships with my invisible team, and I'd love to share what I've discovered with you. So I have a little bullets in case you've never thought about being a tracker, and maybe you've already picked up on Wolf being the overriding diva of our work here together, and certainly there are trackers in the pack, and I am one of them. So trackers often read the landscape for indicators of overall health of the environment. Very important to have somebody to do that. Trackers never look down at their feet, but further ahead and in all directions, never in just one way. Trackers watch the tracks. You know, we're following tracks for sure, but often focus more on what is all around the tracks. And finally, trackers constantly go back and forth between the small details and the overall pattern. These are some of my gifts that I offer to you. I love helping you discover inner and outer resources you didn't realize you had. And the archetypes, animal, and ancestral guides teach us so much if we take the time to converse with them, develop a relationship with them, and get to know how they can guide, support, and protect us in our everyday life. Archetypes are universal themes that provide a neutral lens through which we perceive light and shadow expressions of our nature. Animals basically go through the same physical existence that we do, but with none of the insanity and self-sabotage that humans create. As for the ancestors, they have been with you all along, simply waiting for you to be ready, for you to extend the invitation, and for you to ask and invite their help and guidance. In this three-part introduction, I will cover the primary components and the monthly themes, and I hope you will be inspired to join us as we rediscover our own natural instincts and cultivate our own relationships with our invisible allies and resources. We are cultivating those relationships with our invisible allies and resources. We have more than we give ourselves credit for very often, and it's time to tap in. The journey of our circle is timeless and ongoing, so new members can join anytime throughout the year. This circle is designed to support your evolutionary path year after year, season after season, with custom educational tools, inspired live and virtual events like tonight, and monthly guidance and more. So each month you will devote a little bit of energy and focus toward what is supported, not fighting the currents. It's really important to me. Each month you will discover the value of tending to your own soul work in a conscious, consistent, and ongoing way. It's not good to postpone energetic hygiene over long or let your soul work, quote-unquote, housekeeping pile up. it is much better to tend to a little of the basics every month so you can be more effective and less drained over the course of the year. Very, very important. So this welcome PDF shows the outline for the year that I've developed, and we're going to probably follow the same animals for a year or two, even though I will update the PDF with some fresh pictures and probably update the titles, because that always happens. Every time I edit something, I come up with a new way to say the same thing. So I've broken it down 4 pages for each of the 4 quarters that have the 3 months in them. We have winter, spring, summer, fall, and as we're getting together, it is April. It is time to rise above now. You know, wherever you're at right now, we're going to rise above it and expand your personal perspective with Eagle, who helps you cultivate that inner archetype of the athlete and the warrior. And so we're going to talk about what that means to us also as we move along. But the housekeeping and the tending has to do with your independence. And again, this is something that we want to do every April when we check in with how independent are we. And are we standing on our own 2 feet, or are we leaning on others too much, or do we not have as much support as we really, really, truly need? And so being cognizant and aware. So I'd love for you to go through the details of this PDF. It'll be in the post call goodies. If you haven't seen it already, it is on the archives page. But December, you know, basically winter solstice kicks off with Owl. That's the sage or storyteller. And then January is Puma, which is your inner father or your inner teacher. February is Horse, which is your inner fool and your inner visionary. March is Whale, which is your inner mystic and magician. Eagle, like I said, is your inner athlete, inner warrior. May is your inner creator and engineer with Buffalo. Then we move on to summer, and we have Wolf in June, who activates your inner poet, your inner seeker. And Bear in July, which I hope is when we launch this series for real, and we have our membership site up, is your inner mother bear or your inner caregiver, but it's also when we're going to tend to our boundaries. And so that one's very popular. Boundaries with Bear is going to be juicy. August brings us Dolphin for your inner lover, your inner innocent. Your innocent child heart is what we do in August. September is your inner spider. Spider brings out your inner scribe, your inner healer. And October, we work with Raven for your inner artist and your inner mediator. And November brings Snake, your inner destroyer, and your inner alchemist, who I really love. So these are the whole year mapped out. And like I said, they all represent a little bit of something basic that we have to tend to each year. So if we tend to month by month, once a year, check in with your path and purpose. Once a year, you check in with your new values and priorities. How are things shaping up? You develop a vision for the future. You check in with your friends and new experiences, and how are you moving through the world in that way? Tending to your sense of self, your authenticity, your rhythm and routine, your life cycle, allowing certain things to be completed and done is part of the natural cycle. So like I said earlier, if we tend to a little bit every month, we get through the year, and so much more is solid within us that we don't doubt and we don't have the same fears and anxieties, and we're a little bit more centered in our own truth, and so we can navigate a little easier. And a lot of this is also coming up because of the world we live in today with so much 24/7, 365, we are one world. We know that, and now it's seriously real. And we know that we are all connected, which means all time zones are activated, and we're aware, and there's a part of our being that's aware that there's this constant motion going on our planet. But we know that Mother Earth is alive and breathing and moving too. So it's safer for us to learn how to move than it is for us to be stable in one place. It's much safer for us to learn how to follow our instincts so that we know when it's time to hunker down or when it's time to move. That's why we cultivate those. So you'll hear a lot of my whole central themes have to do with that self-healing. I want to tell you a little bit about my journey as well, because that's, again, how all this comes about, is because I had to do a lot of my own healing myself. And I started out as a preteen searching for support and guidance and different things at the time, and I did find early on that talk therapy was just not for me. I didn't need to talk about things. I wanted to do something about my problems. I wanted to be solution-oriented, and I wanted to also maintain my sovereignty by co-creating whatever that healing or cure or whatever it is. I wanted to participate in it. I wanted to be part of it, and I didn't feel like I could ever find the answers from someone else. And I was always suspicious of someone else telling me what to do or how to live. And it turns out that while that may be challenging to live in regular life, it's really good for the self-healing process because I know how to go kind of innately go inward to find out my solution. And that's what I really want to share with you because no one really can do the healing for you. So I, of course, as a young person, I started with religion, Christianity. My grown family, which had all the problems, were alcoholic Catholics. So I had heard enough about Catholicism, though never taken to church and never participated in any of that. I just went to the Bible first, let's say that. And then I moved from religion, kind of led to the self-education, philosophy and consciousness and metaphysics, and I just went crazy deep into all that. And the thing is, like many of you have probably had this experience too, when you read truth, when you feel truth. So we know in our bodies what truth is. And so as I was learning, making all those connections between physics and metaphysics and the awakening of all the science that's proving all the spiritual and the things that the ancients have known forever. The scientists just want to prove it. Well, they've figured out how to do that now. And there's tons of scientific background, but I'm not even going to get into any of that. I want us to have fun in these realms, but just trust. If you want to do some digging, you can do your own research and your own due diligence to dig a little deeper into some of these things. But what I share with you about archetypes and animals and the ancestors eventually is it sounds magical and mystical, but it's also very rooted in our bodies and very rooted in living here on this planet. And it's a way of living your life in relationship with everything that's alive around you. And when we do it with nature and there's a little neutrality and we're not thinking about people trying to hurt or harm us coming into our space, we still learn that you need boundaries. Because even out in nature, you want to sleep in a tent when you're out in the forest because you don't want to not have a boundary between you and the rest of what's living out there. So, a lot of these basic truths and principles are things that I did naturally, but I never had a structure or a guide or a mentor even to take me by the hand and really invest in me that way. So I always had to do it myself. Now, mind you, I have 5 planets in Aries, so doing it myself was not a problem. I also have 6 planets in Virgo, which means, if you know any Virgos, they always think they know the best way to do anything. What it's done for me is heightened my skills in the pattern tracking department. That's what Virgo does for me, and I love that. And helped me make nature sacred to me. And living our day-to-day lives, I want to be sacred for you because it is sacred to me, and it's precious, and it's temporary. And so we want to do the most that we can with these bodies and minds and spirits because our souls are eternal, but we have this one little container to work with this go-round to get certain things done that we chose and that we signed up for and volunteered for. And here we are. And I learned a lot of that through the years of teens and 20s, well, the whole consciousness expansion and metaphysics and things. But as I got into my 30s and 40s, it's really shifted to energy, healing my soul. And that's when shamanic astrology got deeper for me and led me to Earth Medicine School with Pixie, and I did 4 different levels with her to be able to teach this going forward. I'm just so excited because it's giving me an opportunity to work some new muscles and to work other parts of my life and my passion besides astrology, because most of you know me from that. And before we dive into April, because we're getting ready to do that right now, I just want to put it on here. It will be a monthly subscription, telecircle and live circle in various cities. I'll be joining you all over the country and hopefully internationally soon enough. But I already do have New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, D.C. lined up. So be in touch with me as well if you live in those cities. And as I might have written in the note, I believe, in the invitation, to update your profile on my emailing list where the address says, I couldn't do it without the full address. I couldn't just ask for the city, state, and country, which is really all I need. I don't need your mailing address. I'm not doing snail mail anytime soon. But the city, state, and country helps me let you know if I'm in your town. And so if you want to do that there, that's fine. And so the telecircle will be the tools we go through tonight for April with Eagle, and we do our little housekeeping around independence, and that's a 7-page PDF that you would get along with the call. And a bonus on the monthly call that's only $25 a month or $250 for the year is a personal reading for you. Like I'll pull a card or two for you every month, and that'll be personal. Basically what I'm doing is connecting my guides to your guides and bringing you a message that they think you can use, and often when you read it, you recognize what they're trying to tell you. And tonight, in your post-call goodies for tonight's call, I'm going to post some archetype cards, so we're going to talk about those eventually as well. We might even play with it a little. We'll see how interactive you guys want to be. I am going to open it up for some questions before we close with our journey. And so that monthly call, really good, and your bonus material is that personal reading. The Mystic Mentorship I've created, I need it to be a 3-month minimum, and that is actually $400, and that will include the calls and that personal message, but it'll also include, some of you have gotten my 8 Sacred Season readings. They're PDFs, and sometimes they come with an MP3 as well, but that mentorship will include those 8 readings per year, which is just usually about a 5 or 6 page PDF of tarot cards, whichever cards go with the season I usually do. But they're very popular, and they're included in your mentorship. So why women only? I've got a couple of questions here to answer, because I want you all to feel safe in honoring your process. Whatever it is, wherever you are on your path, I know that this is going to attract all ages and stages, and those ages and stages are not linear. I have also let folks know, I feel like I've observed in my tracking, because I'm tracking you guys too, is that if you didn't deal with something in your teens or 20s or 30s, it comes back later in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. So our healing doesn't go away. The need for healing doesn't go away. You can postpone it, but it never goes away. So we have to eventually address certain things within ourselves so that we can get them out or get them on or whatever it is that you need to do to make you balanced and whole and effective ultimately. There's also something I've created that's called a monthly reset, because I don't like the word boot camp. I don't want you guys to think it's that. It really is more of a reset. So 1 week a month, 7 days, 1 hour a day, we will reset. Now, I wasn't able to work one in for April, so I'm going to work one in for May, and that'll be with Buffalo for your self-value and your self-worth. So every day for 7 days, that one is $50 per person, and you get the whole 7 days of video, the message, and the journey that we do around that, but we're going to go chakra by chakra for 7 days, the 7 primary chakras, and do some tending to our self-value and self-worth next month. And that is going to be your reset of your self-worth and self-value for the year, essentially. And that's why we do it in such an intensive 7 days in a row way. And that allows you to get much more clear about what you're doing. So, again, that's kind of why it has to be women only, because we're all in different ages and stages, and we're all going through different processes. And some of us are parents, and some of us are not. And it's just we're all very, very different and in unique positions. And when I say a 90-day minimum, this is where I'm really kind of excited to do this 3-month introduction to you, because then I hope that those of you who came in and are just learning about me and my work will stick around for the other 2 months, because it kind of takes that long for this information to gel within you. I have heard that a lot from my students. And sometimes it feels like a new language when I'm really trying to speak to the eternal part of you. And a lot of my language, I hope, resonates clearly for you. But that is why I need a 90-day minimum for the mentorship, because we want to track your patterns and cycles in that. And I need a little more time than one session and you're done. You know, we can do a one session for something very specific that you're needing help and mentoring on, but it's better for us to do this ongoing process so that you can really integrate piece by piece and you're not so overwhelmed. Or it's not like we do a weekend workshop and we learn all this stuff and then we go home and what do we do with it? How often do you get a chance to really integrate it into what you're doing? So I want to be able to help you do that, and I really think a 90-day minimum is what we need. And Soul Sisters being the name of our journey is because we're working on our soul work together as women, and it is a journey. It's not a destination, and the sooner you honor that and accept that and be okay with that, the more exciting and the more interesting your journey becomes, because you're not worrying about the end goal. You're honoring each moment, each day, each resource and ancestor and angel and animal spirit that wants to guide you, and you end up feeling so grateful. And I recently heard somebody, what did they say? It was something about, in that moment of gratitude, nothing else can exist. It's like love and hate cannot exist in the same zone. So where there's love and light, darkness and hate cannot exist. It's just nature. So we are soul sisters on a journey year by year, honoring our work, tending to ourselves, doing what no one else can do for us, but knowing that we're not alone, and so hopefully feeling supported by that truth. And so archetypes came about. Many of you may have heard of them. Caroline Mace is the one whose cards I'm playing with here, but Carol Pearson has the books on awakening the heroes within, and she does the Fool's Journey and introduces you much deeper level of these archetypes. So I do highly recommend the books for you to go deeper if one really resonates with you on a much deeper level. Of course, there's primary ones. And these are just those, like I said, it's a neutral lens that we play with for the light and shadow expressions of our humanity and get better at what we're really trying to express. And so when I first got these cards, I laid them all out and I wanted to get to know each of them. And I ended up with 4 rows of 7 cards each. And that equals 28, which is a magical lunar number, and it's sacred. And all of this seemed really sacred. And what happened was the first column of 7, I felt I came to the planet born this way. So I get the virgin, the fool, the healer, the student, the teacher, the guide, and the mentor. This is what I feel like I came in with. But as I grew, child into teenager into grown person, it evolved into what I added to it in my consciousness. This is kind of the way I would put it. I became the athlete, the poet, the detective, the artist, the scribe, the storyteller, and the advocate. That's really when the advocate kicked in me because my mother was sick. So those 2 are kind of so broad, those 2 lists, that I kind of feel like I came in with those and I wanted to develop them. And when I got conscious, I started seeing the seeker in me, the trickster, the alchemist, the shapeshifter, the priestess, the mystic, and the goddess. And those are the ones I've been working the most closely with most recently, and the ones I've been developing, let's say, over the last 10 to 20 years. But what I'm going for, and what I aspire to, is the engineer, the liberator, the pioneer, the rebel, the visionary, the hero or heroine, I guess for me it'd be heroine, and the warrior, the feminine warrior. So these are higher aspirations to aspire to. And when I read the list straight down like that, of course, they made sense and I got it. Then I started looking across the way, and I read them across. Virgin turned into athlete, turned into the seeker, turned into the engineer. Engineer makes things work. The athlete works with their body. The seeker looks to improve their lives. These are natural progressions. The fool to the poet, to the trickster, to the liberator. From fool to liberator, not a stretch. The healer to the detective, to the alchemist, to the pioneer. So we can all heal. You become the detective when you go looking to cure at the root, and you need to get to the root of something. And the alchemist when you bring these widely varying different things together to create something completely new. So powerful. And the pioneer, always doing something new, trying, improvising, leading the way, being fearless, really going for it, like let's learn, let's try it and see what happens, let's figure it out. You never know. So these archetypes have taught me how to rise above or go deeper within, either way. They call the archetypes the inner guides on the fool's journey. That's the language of the books. So you can use that too, inner guides for your journey. But they also taught me about why and how cycles and stages are not linear. That's how I learned that, was because I realized that I consciously put them on the back burner, and now Spirit has set up circumstances for me to finally deal with them. And it's beautiful. And when you're alert and can actually respond to that, it's powerful. And so they offer a model, especially when you're trying to find your true self, or that aspect of self that's really ready to evolve into the next level. And it's crucial to know the shadow expressions of these energies as well, because we can slip into those unconsciously, usually because we've identified so strongly with the archetype. It's time to practice looking at your small or personal issues in a larger collective context. So let's say you're feeling anxiety or overwhelm from the world it's going on all over. Sort of the answer is to pull inward, and I'm always clarifying with myself, at least this is my practice, is what's my peace? I can't fix and save the whole world. All I can fix and save is my peace, my area of reach, my extension of reach. And so it's actually pretty far-reaching, and we all have this far-reaching effect just by living examples, just by living our lives and making these choices along the way. So it's sometimes easier to get out of your anxiety or frustration of the moment on these lower levels when you can rise above it and see how it's connected to the bigger picture. Because once you can make that connection to the bigger picture, and you've made the connection that you have the control to change your little piece, then when you change your little piece, it automatically affects the collective. It automatically does the healing you wanted to do for the big world too. So it's what we do. Everything, all the healing that you do heals 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. All the education and learning, the self-education, the self-healing, what you learn is unlocking things 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. This soul work that you do is making a way for, again, 7 generations back and forward to be liberated, let's say, in their souls. Because of the soul work you're doing, they will have different soul work. It's not that they won't have any. But it is affecting your DNA, and it is affecting backwards and forwards, is what you always want to be mindful of. And also that other reason for connecting our smaller lives to the larger story is that it also is a good practice, because then you, in 2 different realms, okay, in one way you are not using your energy to, let's say, resolve the issue. You're connecting to a higher source of energy and power to allow that energy and force to, let's say, awaken something in you, illuminate something for you, guide you in that proper direction that is best for you, and also practicing discerning between inner and outer, cause and effect. A lot of emotions that we have create physical problems because they're unresolved, because we don't deal with them. Unresolved grief is at the top of the list because of so many reasons we can't even list. But unresolved grief can shut down the body just to get your attention. And often I've counseled people that by the time it's manifested in your body, you are already past that level, because that body manifestation it's your being's last resort to get your attention. So with anything that's going on in your body, you can do the same thing there. You can attach it to the larger story going on around you. So, for example, when I had my hysterectomy in 2018, I got a full hysterectomy, ovaries and all, and I spent the whole maternal line of negativity and rape and destruction, all the things that my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmothers had to go through, all out with that hysterectomy. Go on with the uterus. We're breaking the cycle right here permanently. We're done. We will have no more female-on-female crime in my family. That's done. And I knew that coming in. So I've been very alert to my purpose all along the way. It's been interesting. So thinking about or looking into, you may be familiar with Louise Hay and her book, You Can Heal Your Life. In the back of that book is a whole A to Z directory on physical ailments and what they mean to us emotionally. And when you can address the emotional issues, it automatically resolves the physical issues. There's just so much to it, and you can practice on yourself and looking them up. You want to create more meaning and deeper value in your day-to-day because, again, that benefits all. Little bits you can do. Checking in once a month, taking a little more interest in your own self-care, taking some time out from technology, no screen time, using the void of course, the moon void of course to meditate, or, just trying something new, trying anything new, creative and fun, and something that just gets you out of your normal routine so you can think differently and activate your imagination, because you really want to use your imagination by consciously getting into these archetypes. Look them up, do some research, find out what they are for you, and see where you're led, because that ought to be really interesting too. But when you're playing with the different archetypes that you want to embody or express, that really stimulates your imagination and gets you thinking about what you really can do. And it gets out of aspiration realm and starts to get into real realms, and you start to be able to apply yourself in new ways and have miraculous results. Getting out of your own narrow vision or your small view of yourself. You are bigger, and you're bigger than that, boom, period, all by yourself. But then you, that bigger part of you, is part of something even bigger, even bigger, even bigger. Your whole ancestral line, known and unknown, goes so far back. And so it's really powerful to sort of take some of the weight off your own shoulders and know that you're being carried in some ways, and to honor that and to say thank you for that. And we want to be more effective and less affected by outer influences, because now your cues come from within. And when we talk a little bit more about the archetypes, you're going to see what I mean before we go into journey, and we're going to ask for your own. You're going to talk to your own guides and ask for some guidance on this. But think of it like we do it a lot with the queen or the priestess as women. We call in our inner queen, our inner empress. I know Maria's here. And you know that the queen doesn't really deal with certain lower level things. That's where you're calling it in so that your inner cue says, this is not for me. Let's not judge it. We're not going to say good, bad, right, or wrong, or that we're above it, like the hierarchy, queen, king thing. That's not our thing. We're talking about sacred feminine, higher level feminine within us. That's the queen, okay? And it's different for every woman. That's the beautiful thing about it. But you want to cultivate things where your instincts, your gut, that's where your instincts are. Your intuition is that communication between your head and heart. But you need all three to communicate and to understand so that your cues are coming from in and you're not being affected by outer influences so much. It gets you present to shadow or imbalances quicker, and you can self-correct. Like here's the archetype of the athlete, which of course I'm strongly identified with. Dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower, and strength of spirit. This is what they're attributing to the athlete. Now, in my mind, the athlete is, someone who's creating their life by hand. They're working their muscles. They're doing everything by hand, by themselves, and they're always competing with themselves no matter what other competitions they're in. But it's that personal willpower and that inner directedness that comes from within, and that discipline that comes from within to practice something over and over and over. That's the athlete to me when it's in its light form. It says, according to Caroline Mace and her cards, shadow attributes are the misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends and a false sense of invulnerability and entitlement. So you see how, when you're a winner and you expect to win all the time, eventually you might feel entitled to win. So you're still living that athlete archetype. You're still expressing that, but now you're expressing the shadow pieces of it. And that's what, when you catch yourself, you correct and you say, no, that's not the way this is working. I'm going to be disciplined and organized about my craft and my practice, and that's going to lead by example for those watching me. And so each one has that balance. And when you start to tend to these different parts of your soul along the way, even just once a month, different complications die down. You don't have as many blockages and delays. You don't have as many inner conflicts either. and you're connected to more resources than your human self is really aware of. Again, you got to go higher or go deeper to access these extra resources, and you got to make that a practice in a way, because if you're random with it, let's just say you might have had a reading with me where I said the more specific the question, the more specific your outcome. So in this case, the more specific your intention, the better your outcome as well. And so, deep breath. Where are we? We are up to our April business. Yes. So, April with Eagle is in your 7-page PDF. Like I said, I'm not reading this one, but I'm going to go through it with you. There's an overview about the season. It's tapping into your natural desires and your personal dreams. This is the month I give you permission to be selfish. And then I remind you that throughout the year, you are not selfish. It is self-preservation, and self-preservation is essential to all of us. And this is the month we look at that. That's what the independence is all about, is your self-preservation. What are you doing, and how are things working just for you? And then we look outside of that for relationships and other things and jobs and, what we have to do in the world. But this month, it's all about the spring and the new beginning, preparing for a faster pace, at least in this hemisphere, as the light increases. So we have our overview, then we have the monthly theme, which is independence, and it has some key concepts, some bullets, challenges, highlights, and even body parts to consider this month: the head, face, scalp, brain, eyes, and if you have acne, you can work on healing that this month. But the key concepts are here. Challenges are very much like not listening to or following your inner voice, devaluing your personal ideals and investing more in others, like being really other-directed, not wanting to see what's going on in your own life, just being all caught up in everybody else's life. So the highlights is a very good time to focus on you, your choices, your behavior, everything that's brought you to this point. So those are all kind of bullet lists. Everything's kind of bullet lists, really, except for the overview. Light and shadow, Eagle. Eagle's very powerful, but I love to tell you about Eagle and these miscellaneous notes. First of all, it takes 5 years to mature. So if you are, let's say, just coming into your independence in some way or just gaining some freedom, I know a lot of people who have been married for many, many years that are not married this year. So that is an opening to a new independent life. Allow yourself 5 years, really, to heal from what's closed and done in your life, but as well to get anchored and grounded on the new path. And I love that Eagle values freedom over love, yet it mates for life. So the kind of partners and collaborations that we do this year and going forward have to be us independent individuals coming together for a greater common cause kind of thing. So some of you may know the friendliness card in the Osho Zen deck. It's these two beautiful trees with multicolored leaves, and they're right next to each other, but the leaves are overlapping, and they're dropping to the ground, and they're mixing together. But the trees stand rooted and anchored on their individual selves, and that's what we're always going for, and especially this month when the theme overall is that independence. So Eagle in its light expression, we're going to go through this just because it is our totem for the night. The shadow expression, let's say, and when we're dealing with these imbalances, limitations and challenges, a narrow or limited perspective, which we've already touched on, stifling darkness, time in lower vibrations or negative fields. This is something Eagle cannot do. Childhood wounds and traumas come up. Disconnected from spirit or feeling disconnected from spirit. You're never actually disconnected. And then burnout. Go, 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 nonstop. That's a shadow expression of Eagle. But when we're really working Eagle properly, we're able to rise, reach, and seek higher ground at all times. Taking the long view, expanding your perspective. Again, not being so narrow. Connecting with a higher purpose, larger goals, and possibly some ambition. I know ambition's a trigger word for some people, but wanting better, wanting more is not necessarily a negative thing. Fierce dignity, big Eagle principle. Staying connected to the Great Spirit or your soul star chakra. That is our connection to Father Sky. The Earth Star chakra is the core of the Earth connecting us to Mother. The power of light to sustain life. to accept the lift from eagle to a higher perspective. We can ask for that in our journey tonight. Maybe have the eagle lift you up on its wings and take you high in the treetop to have a little talk in the big nest. I love that big nest. Eagles also handle turbulent winds better than most. They handle change better than most. It's really powerful. And so we can call on eagle to strengthen and fortify us at this crazy critical mass going on around us right now. The strength to acquire freedom, determination and commitment, honoring your questing nature. We're going to talk a little bit about that too, because there is a rhythm to humans. I love the indigenous faith or belief or whatever principle that it came from is 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of rest. That's a happy, normal human. I love that. And we're expanding our sense of self and connecting to the larger story. So that page has light and shadow. Then we have journal prompts, which really help you questions to lean into some considerations. I like to consider soul work as if you were remodeling your home. Some parts of the house are worn out and must be removed, rebuilt, or upgraded, while there's other parts of the house which are rock solid, beautiful, and should be preserved. So checking in with yourself with these journal prompts is going to be really useful. Prayers are on a page. Great Mother, Father, God, I am so grateful for your ongoing support and protection as I honor that which has brought me this far. And I consciously choose a higher path from now on. So it is. So there's some prayers in there for you to play with. Again, everything I offer you is simply a guideline, not the end-all, be-all. These are just to prime the pump and get your imagination cooking and get you going. The affirmations are pretty powerful. I take heart and gather my courage to seize the opportunity the universe is presenting. I soar above the mundane levels of my life and gain a new perspective. I feed my body with nourishing living foods. I feed my soul with the love and nourishment of honesty, faith, and love. There's a whole bunch of affirmations. I love affirmations, and most of my people do too. So definitely check out the 7-page PDF that goes with our theme. And we're coming up on actually pretty good timing, considering that I had to add on that little introduction. I'm so grateful that you all have been with me. So I'm thinking that I want to open it up for questions before we do a 10-minute rattling journey to ask for the archetype that's coming through for you. And then, like I said, I'm actually going to pull a card for you. So I will send you, and it may be more than one. We'll see what the universe does. But anyone have any questions or want to speak up or chime in or ask me to clarify anything?
Hi, it's Maria. I just want to say I'm so excited, and it's so wonderful, and let's go.
Hi, rah, rah. My cheerleading section is here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next level. Here we go. So archetypes. What archetypes have shown up, my sister? Because I know you can name a few.
Oh, the eagle and the hawk has just been all out this week. You are so resonant on that. So, yes, let's go.
That's the totem. How about the archetypes? The inner engineer, the inner queen, the inner artist.
You know the Empress. I got a ha-ha when you rescued me out with the Empress because, you know, I'm working that, and the universe is just activating all of us Empresses because that's the healing medicine that takes us into the 5D right now. And so, yes, let's go.
Very good. Thank you, darling, for sharing. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay. Anyone else want to share a totem or an archetype that comes up often with you or something you're working on that you might want to know, an archetype that could help you out? You know, I really also want this new circle to be more interactive, you guys, so be brave.
Hi, Kelly. It's Vita. How are you?
Oh, praise the Lord. Hello. Yeah. Greetings, my Taurus sister in the flesh. Hello.
That was funny. You got me with that one. I
love
expecting
you.
that.
I got you.
It's good to hear you. And I have a question in reference to maybe I need an archetype I can work with.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past year, so I've gone through like a huge transition in terms of where my life is. Now I feel stuck. So I'm trying to, I did get the hawk, I believe, at one point as maybe a spirit guide, but I'm looking for something a little more concrete as far as an archetype to work with, and I haven't been using my cards. I haven't been using my crystals. I haven't been using any of the old tools because right now, at this point, it seems to be a lack of resonance with those things for me.
That's okay. We go through those phases where the tools change, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'll do your card pull with that in mind. How about that? And I'll send it to you privately. And,
okay.
Now that I know what's on your heart, when I pull your archetypes, and I'll probably pull 3 or 4 for everybody so that you guys can work with a couple of them and have some ideas of what's coming up maybe for you. And you can let me know if those resonate, if you feel that I think it'd be better to do it that way. But yes, this is what it can help with. And then, like I said, the whole idea is to work the archetypes for kind of our human self and the animals for our animal self. And the ancestors is a whole other ball of wax altogether. So I'm just so excited you're here, and thank you for presenting and honoring where you are at this time, because sister girls, all of you, this is what it is. We meet each other where we're at, and we go from there. And that's okay, and that is totally okay. And stop claiming that you're stuck. You are on pause for a reason. The universe has you on pause.
Pause
what is that good for?
Understatement.
No, we're going to free you up and liberate you in some better, more positive, ease and grace way. Like, we don't have to learn through tragedy anymore.
I think you know how when you're going through a healing process, and you get to that point like where you've been taking the antibiotics and you start feeling better, and so you stop taking the antibiotics. So I think I started feeling better, so I probably stopped doing some of the things that I was doing to sort of help me maintain connection, or at least a sense of some kind of grounding. And I got swept completely off the boat. So
we've all been there.
So I'm trying to recuperate from where I thought I had stability, where I thought I had gotten over a lot of stuff and healed. And it's like the universe keeps, I don't know, I won't say the universe keeps doing it, because I have a feeling I'm primarily responsible for a lot of what I'm dealing with in terms of the internal dialogue and the way that affects the energetic manifestation of what you experience, what I experience. So now it's time for me to realign, I guess you would say.
Yeah, let's talk offline here, and I'll leave some room for others to reach out. But I think I got some ideas. Spirit's kind of tapping on my shoulder with a couple of things, and I did pull one card just for you, and it was the Seeker. So that thirst for wisdom and truth, wherever they are, they're always seeking truth and wisdom. They're thirsty for it. But the shadow of it is the inability to commit to the path once you've found one. So sit with that for a minute, okay, and just sit with that.
That's interesting that comes up, because that's what my name represents, the Seeker.
Vita,
and
I love it.
And there was a favorite show that I watched called The Seeker. Like, I literally call myself the Seeker sometimes.
That's so interesting.
So that resonates on a whole bunch of different levels.
Well, let's do the journey.
Yeah,
maybe something will come through in the rattle, Just let me make sure anyone else want to speak up.
Yep,
and Vita, let's do that. Yeah, go into the rattle with me. You're going to like that. Okay. Anyone else want to offer or ask a question or anything? We can just go straight into the journey. That's cool, too. But if you're ready, let's go in and ask for a little clarity on your own archetype and see what comes through. If you all want to just shoot me a little note of whatever's on your heart for your card pull, I'm happy to take that into consideration when I do that for the post-call goodies. So just get comfortable wherever you are. I'm going to mute you guys again just for the recording to be clear. And so grateful. Now we are going to go into this zone. We're only going to do it for 10 minutes, but even 10 minutes can knock you out. So it's okay. It's still all going into your subconscious in a good way and allowing you to just receive. Just receive and open to what Spirit wants to show you. Sometimes they'll show you a symbol or a picture or a book or an ancestor themselves. Oh, my God, all the lights just got super bright on one strand of my lights over here. Bear with us. Let's go. Deep breath. Get comfortable wherever you are. Okay, put your hands on your heart. Breathe deeply. Feel that connection. above, below, and at the heart. Breathe as if you're expanding your heart, opening it as wide as possible, the biggest, deepest belly breath you can reach at this moment. Expand your diaphragm. Go as deep as you possibly can. Deep, deep breaths. Connecting to your heart, connecting to the most joyful memory, thought, concept, feeling, vibration that you can bring in this instant. My visual for that is those 18-month-old babies or 1-year-old babies that just learned to walk, aren't talking yet, running on the beach, squeals of delight. That is the purest joy I know. And every time you think of that purest joy that you know of, and you're breathing in your heart, all is well. You activate that joy principle, that innocent child heart that's within all of us, no matter what your age and stage. Release anything emotional to Mother. The Earth's core can compost it into usable energy, not the stagnation we can be prone to when we get into our Earth zones. Release anything mental or spiritual distresses up to Father Sky, to the cosmos, to the angels, to the higher fields, to be transmuted and dispersed so it can come back together in a different, more useful way. All that you cannot use or integrate, anything you can't assimilate, may it be composted now or released with ease and grace. May it be cleared from your field, and it is from this cleared field that you rest with ease. Relax and breathe, and go to your happy place in nature, preferably someplace you know really well, so that it's easy to go there and back when you're in this, say, liminal space, is what it's called. Deep breath, keep breathing. Your nature place might be the ocean's edge, might be water, might be mountains, redwood trees, whatever it is. Go there now. Meet your animal guide, your ancestral guide, whoever it is that you work with the most, your angel guide that comes to you the most often. Meet them there at the portal between this ordinary reality, where we're sitting on the phone, and into non-ordinary reality, into your special sacred place in nature that is pristine, beautiful, untouched, unpolluted, no industrialism, all nature, all natural, all balanced, sunshine, comfortable temperatures, ease and grace. As you move into this non-ordinary reality, I always think of the land before time, the most pristine nature. Acclimate yourself. What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you hear? What do you feel? What part of your body feels awake at this moment? What part of your body has felt dormant that you would like to awaken? What part of you needs a healing at this time, needs some medicine, needs a message of hope and clarity for the direction you'd like to go next? As you ask those questions, as you contemplate these issues in your life that you want to resolve yourself, that invites the answers. And the answers can come in many, many ways. So being open and receptive. And as we rattle in, we hold that pace. I'll probably do about 7 to 8 minutes. And then I will honor the 4 directions, which will have a different rhythm. It'll be more like this. The 4 directions is your callback signal to follow the same trail you went down there in, over there, up there. If you have ego flying you to higher levels, wherever you came from, come on back when you hear that. So, deep breath, inviting your guides to be very clear with very simple messages that you can remember and retain and use going forward. Here we go. Okay. Start to bring yourself back, following the path you traveled there, honoring your guides, whoever showed up, giving gratitude, making an offering, perhaps some cornmeal or tobacco or a strand of hair when you don't have anything else, or a rock or a shell or a branch that you found along your path. And say thank you to all the guides that surround you now and always, that are part of your invisible team. Make your way back to your guide at the portal. Ease yourself back into the room. Maybe put your feet on the ground. Open your eyes. Look around. Anchor somewhere here and now. Maybe take a minute or two to jot down in your journal whatever came up so you can remember. For those of you who are note takers, remember to stay alert throughout the month for different signs and symbols and confirmations of your messages tonight. The theme of independence, where you're at with that personally, how to be more independent and still have a community to be a part of is really powerful. Which inner archetypes are you already living out? Which ones would you like to be living out? What is the elevated version of those archetypes so that you can move to the next level consciously, embodying your true gifts and using the gifts and strengths that you've got for your own benefit and for the benefit of humanity and the earth. Very powerful to do this kind of self-work because it does ripple out and affect others, whether you know it or not, whether they tell you or not, whether they thank you or not, it doesn't matter. Your personal self-work ripples out into the universe in a positive way and affects so many more humans than you think it does. So be mindful. Again, look for those confirmations throughout the month and shoot me a note if you'd like. If you have personal questions, maybe didn't want to talk live with everyone, that's okay. I am so grateful for your interest in my new circle, and I hope you will consider joining us. And I definitely hope you'll participate in the next two parts of our introduction. Next time it will be the animal guides, and you'll get a little animal reading at the end. And then when we get to the ancestors, it's going to be very powerful. So I saved the best for last. I love you all, and I'm very grateful for everyone that I am meeting in the new circle that is coming together as we speak, being drawn in. Much gratitude. Here is to elevating your perspective and moving forward centered in your own power and truth. Much love. Have a good night.